For me, this was always going to be what I was going to do. I had told my mother at 12 that I was going to move to Atlanta. I was going to be this full-time authoress, and I was going to just tell stories. I never wanted to be anything other than that. And I've been writing stories since I was maybe 8, 9 years old. And for me, it was just in me. Like, people know how to naturally sing. They know how to naturally dance or paint and draw. I knew how to tell stories.
Here's what you missed at this year's Black Writers Weekend. On Thursday, we kick off the first day of Pitch Fest before getting into our first panel. Then we end the night off mixing and mingling. After check-in and orientation on Friday, we start the second day of Pitch Fest. From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., our guests, experts, and vendors exchange stories and information through panels, workshops, and tables. And of course, we celebrated with a social. Saturday is a bit of a scavenger hunt. Across 6 locations, we have workshops, panels, book signings, performances, and more. Our final day is the 15th annual AANBC Awards, complete with red carpets, live music, and lots of honorees. Thank you to everyone that came out this year, and we can't wait to see you in 2024. For more information, please visit blackwritersweekend.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to yet another Sunday Craft Talk, and we are going to be joined with Dr. DaJaniel S. McCree. She is a Ph.D. doctor that specializes in mental health, and we're going to dive into not only her practice and some of the work that she does, but we're going to dive into her book. Of course, you know, a lot of our guests have a literary project or a film project that they are exposing to us, and we like to dive into their storytelling and the reason why, and of course how they begin to master their craft. So hey doctor, how you doing, my darling? Welcome on to Sunday Craft Talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing
today?
great. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am moving and grooving. I cannot complain. Service today was good. I feel like the pastor was kind of, you know, in my business, talking about me a little bit, but I embraced the message. I embraced it, you know, I did. But how's your Sunday? It looks like you're in a hotel room. Are you traveling? What's going on with you on your end?
Yes, so I started the day off with worship in church as well, but I actually just arrived in Atlanta. I'll be presenting my research at the American Public Health Association's annual conference. So just literally landed, sat in the room, and got my computer up to get it started.
Wow. So you're presenting research. And so, okay, so of course we're going to dive into that.
Yes.
But first, congratulations on even obtaining a PhD. That is an accomplishment in its own. And you look all of maybe about a good young 30, 31. So I'm like, well,
thank you.
Did I hit it?
32. Thank you.
Wow. So you must have. So not only did I hit it on the head, because I figured she's super young, but to have a PhD, you got to be at least somewhere in the early 30s, maybe.
Right.
But and I only guess that because of what you have accomplished. But that means that when you started school, you kind of just kept going. So
yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I was gonna say, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know how to not be in school. It's kind of weird, actually.
Okay, so are you like Lynn from Girlfriends? Are you a professional student?
I don't think I'm like Lynn, because Lynn really didn't go to school. Look, like she kind of didn't really go to school, but she went to school, but not really. But yes, professional student, you could say that.
All right, so let's throw it back. So take us into your beginnings. I mean, you graduated high school, you went to start your understudies, and you said, I'm gonna keep going. How did you decide that this was going to be the journey you were going to take?
I think it was decided for me, actually. I didn't know that this is where I would be at and what I would be doing. I always knew that I wanted to help people, but I always thought that would be I would have to stay in one lane. So for undergrad, I went for nursing actually, because again, in helping people, I always thought that that's the way I would do that. And along the way, God showed me that I could help people in a different way, and that's by using my voice to help others. That's what kind of I was pushed, not pushed. Let's clarify. I was guided and directed into the
Encouraged.
encouraged. That's a good one. But I have great women in my life who also have completed their PhDs, and so seeing them, hearing their stories, and then them kind of like I said, encouraging me based off of what I wanted to do with my life is kind of what led me here to research. I've always loved research. I just didn't do it in a formal capacity. So it's amazing to be here and to be, like I said, giving back in that way as well.
So you've had a, let's say you had a strong group of Black women around you that influence you, that encourage you. That is a blessing in itself. And these
Yeah.
are educated women as well, or women that were strong enough to lead you in this path, which is not only higher education, but you're giving back. And then you're stepping into a space that was a somewhat cliche. I know for me, because I'm an 86 baby. So you were about what, a 91,
91.
90, 91 baby. So, and growing up in the 90s, like even prior to that, Black folks, when it came to mental health or just going to therapy, one, we didn't have time. Two,
Right.
we always thought that we had to experience some trauma, or we really had to be psychotic and have some mental issues. We
Mhm.
didn't really understand the importance that going and getting your mental health checkup was like going to the dentist or going to go get your wellness check, like checking on your mental and your mindset. That was not something that I was taught at all.
Right.
Like I didn't start therapy until I was 26. And that was after the trauma. And that was
Mhm.
after my trauma began to influence my own children.
Right.
And I didn't realize that I needed help in ways that I couldn't imagine, or ways that the church didn't teach me. And so I want to know a little bit more about your beginnings and how you even implement that into your day to day, even now, when it comes to mental health for yourself. Is that something that you
Yeah.
grew up being encouraged to tap into, and then
Absolutely.
you tap into it for yourself now?
Yeah, so absolutely not raised in that way. So I'm from Detroit, so a
Okay.
city that's largely populated by Black people. A lot of us migrated, our families migrated from Mississippi. So we have Southern roots, which a lot of people ask me, am I from the South? No, I'm not. I guess we sound like that because we came from there a while back. But so, growing up I wouldn't say I grew up in the hood, but I was surrounded by it. So I elevated out of the hood, I would say that. But no, we didn't talk about therapy. We didn't talk about mental health. I am learning now that I love being from Detroit. It literally made me who I am, but it's also a detriment in some ways because we didn't
Right.
grow up saying I love you. We didn't grow up talking through our feelings. And now as an adult, at 32 years old, I'm realizing how that's actually a problem.
Yeah.
So let me just go back a little bit. Years ago, I believe I was 24, 23, 24, the first time that I started going to therapy. And again, like you said, after the trauma occurred. And while it's never too late, I don't have children right now. But like to your point, we don't really realize how our trauma can be passed along to not only our children but people surrounding us, right? So
Right.
it took for me to kind of get into that space to say, okay, I know that I need to do this for myself, and it taught me a lot, which is kind of what led me to my educational path.
Yeah, that and so I'm glad, or not glad, but I'm grateful that you understand where I'm coming from, because now it's like the conversations is utilized all the time, a lot. My son is 16, and
Mhm.
I even talk about this on my own series, my memoir series at that, Trace Amika, which was a way for me to heal just through dialogue. But what I began to discover with the children now that's coming up after us, they sometimes utilize being sad or being or mental health almost like it's a game.
Yeah.
They play with it a little bit too loosely, and there's too
Absolutely.
many children walking around claiming that they're depressed or they're unhappy when that's and because of what's being encouraged. Oh, speak about your feelings and talk about it. But now it's almost like it's a crutch. And so there's a huge difference. We went from let's not talk about it
Right.
to now let's utilize it to say so I don't have to do my homework, so I
Right.
don't have to clean my room. If I
Right.
misbehave, it's because I'm sad. Like I'm seeing so many children, and now they're becoming adults and things like that. And I'm afraid of what society is ultimately going to look like with there not being people being held accountable for their choices because they're playing with their mental health and playing with their mindset. What is your take on that, and how can we really approach that?
Yeah, I don't know how we can approach it, to be honest. I just think that times change, things change. There are a lot of things, like you said, that are talked about now that weren't talked about in the past, which is a good thing. It is, but we can't let, like you mentioned, that become our crutch. I think that I'm trying to choose my words wisely here. I think that sometimes people use it as a crutch, and it makes it hard for the people who really need the care, um, to feel confident in seeking it. A, but B, to actually receive it in the way that is appropriate for them. So I want people to take it seriously, in essence, and I think that it's more. I bring everything back to education. I don't think mental health is anything to play with. As a matter of fact, I know it's not. So I just want people to get educated on, because there are a lot of things that encompass mental health. It's not just about therapy or how you're feeling emotionally. Emotional health is a part of mental health, right? It ties into one
Mm-hmm.
another. So people kind of need to know more about what mental health entails, and I think hopefully that way they'll realize that it's not a game or something to be played with.
I like that you said that emotional.
Mhm.
And so that is, it wasn't until I began to like really try to take dating seriously as an adult. I
Mhm.
got married really young. So when I became single, that was it. I was trying to stay single. So I wasn't trying to hear none of that. But when I really began to really care and I needed to really kind of communicate with guys to get to know them, I realized these folks don't know how to talk. They can't control their emotions. They are short tempered,
Mhm.
and they are super. They're broken and almost like argumentative. So when you said emotional, like yeah, they don't talk about that enough. I don't even.
Right.
I see a lot of mental health and mental this and. But you're right. There are many layers to it. Can you talk about what those different areas are and how people can begin to? So I guess it's two parts: what they
Mhm.
are and how people can begin to kind of heal or practice and know themselves in those spaces.
I think for me, the biggest part of mental health is tying in the emotional health, because other people have had other experiences, right? So maybe people have had some, I'm going to use the term loosely, but sexual experiences that were unhealthy, unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
relationships that also ties into being a part of your mental health, and it impacts your mental health, I should say. But for me, the emotional health part of it, again, not necessarily talked about as much. We don't really realize our emotions impact our mental, right? So when you think about it like that, I wouldn't say that you need to learn how to decompress your emotions at all, but you have to understand where those emotions come from, where they stem from. Again, I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning now, and I'm reading a book by Pastor Mike Todd, Damaged but Not Destroyed. I'm learning now. I always knew where some of my damage came from, but you also have to know where it came from so that you can know how to deal with it moving forward. So now I'm in a literally this week I've been in a process of just understanding what those damages and traumas are. Again, what's affecting my emotional health and mental, like really what's affecting me mentally. I've been connecting to it. Started with an emotion. When this happened,
Right.
it triggered me, and that was an emotion. So in learning how to tame my emotions, I had to go back to what's the root of the problem, what
Like
happened.
what happened?
Right,
Yeah.
what happened there, and kind of just getting to the point where it's like, okay, now that I can recognize it happened, why it happened, I need to sit with that and process that so that I can know what to do moving forward. So, and I forgot your second part of the question. I don't know if I answered it by saying that. I'm sorry.
Well, you kind of did answer a little bit to get started with it because the first thing is, okay, is recognizing or thinking about what happened. Growing up, I experienced grief a lot, losing people, being disappointed,
Mhm.
your close family and friends, doing you wrong, portraying you, things like so. I experienced a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, now when people experience similar things that I grew up experiencing, because now I'm 37. So now I know how to handle people a lot more better. I know how to handle
Mhm.
my emotions. I know that good and bad is going to happen. So I'm not reactive. However, when some of those horrible things are happening, people are experiencing grief, I always encourage them to feel it. When you're feeling sad, sit in it. Allow yourself to feel those things. Do not try to push them away, because when you do try to bury it, it alters your thoughts and your moods, and it's almost like you're planting some seeds and you're allowing those things to fester and to grow, and one day it's going to just just skyrocket and just
Yeah.
burst,
You'll
and
be
that's what we do
triggered
not
again.
want.
You'll be triggered again in that same way and reacting in the same way or worse because you've and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, 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 go ahead.
reacting in the same way or worse, because you haven't dealt with it, it is going to end you in up in a worse situation mentally and emotionally. So
Yep.
I totally agree with yours, and it's uncomfortable to sit in your grief, to sit in your pain,
Yes.
to sit in all of that. But it's something that I realize that people you have to do it because that's
Yep.
part of the overcoming it.
Yep. I sometimes I use this metaphor, maybe a little, I guess not derogatory, but it's common sense. When you eat something, it got to come out, right?
It does.
Like you're taking in something into your body, it has to come out.
Yep.
It's the same when it comes with emotions, whether those emotions are good, like happiness. We don't mind showing our happiness and our joy, but in the sad parts and the heavy parts too, those things need to come out. But they do need to come out in a healthy way, a controlled way, not a volatile way, not where you're throwing out horrible, hurtful words towards your loved ones. You're carrying around really heavy, toxic energy, and now people are not enjoying being around you. There are healthy ways to release and let go of negative things. And unfortunately, some people don't want to seek mental guidance or mental health or therapy until they're sad or till they're low or something
Yeah.
bad happens. So outside from that, for people that feel like, well, I ain't got no trauma, I ain't went through nothing. Life, you're living. If you didn't get a job, a
Right.
boyfriend hurt your feelings, your child, they may have gotten hurt. Like life is filled with trauma and and beautiful things all at once. So you need therapy and guidance and spiritual guidance, anyway. So what are some ways or some encouraging ways that you can say for people to just have therapy and guidance in general?
It doesn't even have to be therapy. Just like I said, I'm surrounded by a community of Black women who are empowering. Surrounding yourself in community. If you don't want to go the therapy route, I personally advocate for. I think everybody should go to therapy,
Yes.
because whether you've had a surmounting amount of trauma, where whether you've only dealt with a little bit of trauma, of everyone, like you said, you're living, you've dealt with trauma. You might not recognize it as trauma, but something in your life that's happened has had an effect on you, right? So I think for me, before I was in therapy, I had a community, thankfully. Without that, I don't know where I would have ended up. But it's that. So if your community is your friends, is your if your community is your church home, if your community is your workplace, that might be a little toxic. I don't know if you should find community, depending on where you work, maybe that's a healthy environment. But I think that it could go beyond therapy. Self-care is more than just therapy. A lot of people think about it like that. Self-care is doing
Yeah.
anything for yourself that makes you feel better. So whether that's going to the movies once a week, maybe that's walking around the grocery store. I personally like to go to Whole Foods from time to time and just peruse, and that makes me feel good. Right? It's something that I'm doing for myself that is helpful. So I think, along with therapy, practicing self-care it's a form of therapy, to be honest.
I agree. So, and you took it upon yourself. You perform a lot of research. You share what that research is, and I want to dive into that next. is some of your research and your literary works. Can you take us a little bit into your project that you put out, Black Girls Can Talk?
Yes. So I didn't realize that I was living this book every day until I started writing it. So, just as a background, my research is focused on Black women. More specifically, I research Black queer women, their healthcare experiences, inequities, and social determinants that impact their health. A lot of what I wrote in this book can be applicable, not just to queer women, right? A lot of the things that we women in general experience are applicable to all women. But I do place a focus on Black women for obvious reason. I'm Black, and I'm an advocate for other Black women because I know how hard we've had it in society. Not to say that other women haven't. We unfortunately are at a disadvantage when it comes to many areas. So in writing this book, a lot of people ask me, like, what is it about, what did you write? And sometimes I really don't have an answer because I was just writing. I was just writing, and like I said, a lot of it came from my research. Like I said, every day I was reading these transcripts of these women who were telling their experiences and telling their stories, and I'm like, I've dealt with that too. Or, not really realizing prior to that how common these experiences are for a lot of us. And so, being that I went to a predominantly white institution, for undergrad, and I learned a lot in that experience. It was also difficult navigating that space. And so, since I feel that I've navigated or had to navigate mostly white spaces, and so that's what this story is about essentially. So it's a story about navigating white spaces, but it's also an exploration of identity and embracing self-love and self-care, and also gaining self-confidence and just essentially asserting yourself in spaces and rooms that weren't initially designed for you.
Right. And so, can you give us a little bit of just some feedback for people that have been able to read your book, learn from it? What has been some of their testimonies or some results of just what they learned from your teachings that they apply to their own life?
Yes, so I actually want to talk to two specific feedbacks that I received, two from two people, excuse me. And they were both men, actually.
Oh,
So
wow.
that just goes to show that this book is not only helpful to girl, and actually three men. And I didn't think men would say anything, right? But this book is not only for girls, but it is helpful to anyone, not just Black people either. It's also for anyone who wants to be a helpmate to women
Right.
who are trying to understand these topics. And
Understand Black women. Yeah, understand
yes.
the topic. Yeah.
Right. So anyone who's an ally. So one thing that I can remember, I received a call from a very good friend of mine, and he mentioned, I love the fact that boom, you open up with identity, because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm Black, I'm a woman, that's my identity, and identity is way more than that. And I won't, share all the details of the book, but and also that I speak in this book using my own voice, the same voice that I'm using today. I talk like that in the book. I It's anecdotes from my, like I said, my real life. So you'll hear a little bit about how I grew up. Um, what I went through in college and coming out of college, the things that I deal with today, in my professional world. So that was one takeaway, as well as I actually received feedback from a colleague who is Caucasian, and we haven't had a chance. We were supposed to set up a time to talk, and life is life, and so we haven't had a chance to meet. But he texted me and just said, your book taught me so much, things that I never recognized or knew about, or that women experience, especially Black women experience. Thank you, essentially, is what he said. And the last individual said, is kind of how I know that my book is helpful to men as well, because he mentioned that it helped him, and he has daughters, right? Or, is, like I said, it's not just for women who are wanting to know this information. It's really for everyone.
Right. Wow. And so, how? How do you feel that you're doing? I know sometimes we be so busy with our goals. Of course, a lot of
Mhm.
your work does deal with research,
Yeah.
um, and so you have these things that you're trying to accomplish, and then you conquer this, and then you'll share your findings, and then there's another goal, and another task, and so forth and so forth.
Right.
You've gotten the doctorate degree now. I don't know if there's anything higher than that, but how you
If
think
it
you're
is,
doing?
if it is, I'm not getting it. I'm not going that. I can't do it. No, no, it is the highest educational degree you can receive. Um, I That's a great question. I don't know how I'm doing. Because I have certain goals for myself, and for me, I want to help everybody. So I am very hard on myself because I want to do so much more, but I have to realize that I am one person. I can
Hmm.
only do so much, and I can't carry that weight and that burden as much as I want to. So I definitely am grateful for where I'm at, but I just know that there's much more to do.
Yeah. And you are super, super young to have and accomplished so much. So just think about it. You got about a good, if you want to keep going and be active, you got another 65, 60 years or so. You got a lot of time. If the Lord says the same and He gives you those amount of days, you're going to be able to bless and touch
Amen.
hundreds of thousands more, maybe even millions more. And the more that you keep doing this work, the more that you keep teaching, the more that you normalize these conversations, and keep furthering your research, and putting that hands into the reach of people that can actually benefit from your hard work. So I would say I don't even really know you like that. We've never met,
Right.
but just reading through your bio, seeing the work that you've done, doctor is in front of your name, and you just now tapped into your 30s. I can just imagine that not only is the sky the limit, but whatever it is that you're setting yourself forward to accomplish, I imagine you're going to do it.
I
You
appreciate
seem
that.
like a very intentional person,
I
and
try to be. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, I always tell people we are our most valuable, most powerful asset, or the number one thing that we can possess. The most powerful thing that we can possess is ourselves. And when we begin to speak positive words of our life, and if I say I'm fly, or I'm popping, or I'm smart, I'm beautiful, whatever the case may be, I am those things because I said it.
Absolutely.
If I say I want to accomplish this and accomplish that, I'm going to actually have it because I'm going to do the work to actually go in and do it. With the things that we want for ourselves, all we have to do is go and achieve those things. And if it is designed by God, our ancestors, and or those that has guidance over our life, it will happen.
Absolutely.
But you have to do the work yourself. You just can't sit around and say, "Oh, I want $1 million falling to my lap."
Right. It don't work
It's
like
not
that.
going to happen. I mean, you even think about the people that have won the lottery and won millions of dollars, and a big, huge percentage of those people end up having tragedies or horrible
Yeah.
stories after winning that much money. And you got to sit down and ask yourself, why? Don't you
Right.
think if money was the answer to everything, don't you think all those people that won millions of dollars
It would be
would have been
okay.
happy?
Right.
No, it starts internally with you, also your community, how you treat yourself, your self love that you're expressing to yourself, and also what you're giving out to society.
Absolutely.
Um, and so, take us into what's next. What are some things you're currently working on? What are some goals that you have for yourself?
What am I not working on? I definitely have a long. So I let me go back. I got my doctorate last year, so I'm still new in this space. So there are still a lot of things that I want to do with my degree itself. But taking my degree away, as an author, there's more books to come. So originally, I wanted to do an autobiography, but you can't do an autobiography if nobody know you. So that'll
Well, you
you
can
can.
do an autobiography, but will people care? Because
Right,
a lot of people, we all have a story. So yes,
right,
everybody can write a story in their life, but what's going to make them care? So that's
exactly.
the only thing. You just got to
Yeah.
get people to care, and that's it.
And quiet as it's kept, and it's not gonna be quiet because I'm saying it out. But I didn't get my doctorate to become a professor or to do research. Actually, I got it to so people could hear me. And so people can respect me. I promise you. So people can respect me when, of course, we went over that I got it to help others. Absolutely. And that came out in my research. I never said I want to be a professor. I'm getting a PhD. I said I want to help people. And one of those, and I always knew that I wanted to write a book. I felt that, and I didn't release my book until I got my doctorate because I felt like people wouldn't care prior to that. And that's
Well,
unfortunate, but that's what society makes us feel a lot of times. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I see what you're saying where it comes with the doctor, but I'm not. I mean, being a professor and going into the classroom and teaching it, or even if you don't go into the classroom or teach for a university, you can create your own curriculums and and create and teach teach yourself and have a platform of your own and build your own community. I just think that anything that you set your mind to, that you can actually accomplish that. But the fact that that's why you want to become a doctor, so people will listen. Hey, I applaud you. They listening now.
Right, I hope so. And to your point, anybody can do power the death, the power of life and death is in the tongue. What they say, whatever they
Yes,
say
the power.
about it.
That's why I said the power of life and death is on your tongue, which is why you got to speak positive things over your life.
Yes, so absolutely, and I definitely I could have done it without a doctorate, but because education was so big in my household, I felt like I had to get the degree and so because I was getting the degree, I felt like okay, well let's wait to put this in front of my name so that people can hear the rest of what I have to say. Which again is unfortunate that it played out like that and I was made to feel like that. But now we here. Now we here. So I definitely want to write another book. As well as just further my career. I have since changed my mind about teaching. I do want to teach in some capacity. Now, full professor, I don't know if I want to go tenure track route and do all of those things. It's a lot of politics and I don't know. But
Yeah.
my degree is in health education and I've been an educator since I've been on this earth. So I feel like it's my call still to educate others. There's definitely different ways I can do that. I would love to stay in the academic space in some capacity because I feel that there are just a lot of it's a great reach, right? There's a lot of connections to be made. Like I said, the research part of it, I still want to hold on to, but I also want to separate myself as an author and kind of focus on the things that setting myself aside from okay the doctor just the author is a totally different person, so I want people to see the author more, and people that know and love me, they know exactly who I am, so they probably read the book and laugh because they know exactly how I said it. But I want more of the world to know the author side of me.
Well, so you're getting ready to present some of your research even today. And so tell us where people be able to find out more about you, where they can possibly meet you in person, where some of your other additional events or speaking opportunities are going to be at.
Yes, so I'm outside. I'm everywhere. So again, this week I'll be at APHA, which is American Public Health Association. Once again, their annual conference. I'm actually going to another conference in New Orleans, and they call it Quad S. Society of Sexuality, and I won't even mess it up. But that is on Thursday. I'll be presenting my research again. So I'll be present. So anyone listening who's also going to be at APHA, you might see me, or even at Quad S. And then as far as the book goes, I am on Instagram, Black Girls underscore can talk. Um, Also blackgirlscantalk.com. It gives you more details about me as the author, but in my research, but also it directs you right to the Amazon for the book itself. There's also a Facebook page, Twitter. We're on Twitter at BGCT Book. That's a lot of that acronym. Okay, BGCT Book, as well as TikTok, BlackGirlsCanTalk.com.
Well, this has been a pleasure getting to know you, just learning about you and your work. And I'm eager, to just see how you continue to grow, Even when your new projects come out, make sure that you let us know. We definitely want to continue to support you. Hopefully we'll see you at Black Lives Weekend in Atlanta. We have a whole wellness program that we always do. Even a conversation centered around Black men, so they can also continue to talk about their experiences, and we get to understand each other, not debate and just talk about well, I experienced this, I experienced that, and like like we just trying to say, well, who had the most trauma? Like, this is not a competition. And sometimes it comes off like that, where people just want to be understood or they just want to be heard. And so I want to continue to create those platforms for people just to be heard, and for people just to listen, not to judge, not to compare at all, but just to hear that person and recognize our own experience. So thank you so much, Dr. McCree, for coming on, exposing yourself to us. And we are rooting for y'all. Y'all make sure y'all go and get her book, Black Girls Can Talk. It is on all online retailers, Amazon.com, or you can go to her website, blackgirlscantalk.com as well.
Yes, thank you for having me, and definitely make sure to follow me with details about that event. I think it was in the beginning, but I don't remember what it says. So I definitely would love to come if I'm available.
Okay, well, pause real quick because we about to jump right into that. It's that commercial for Black Lives Weekend. Y'all, thank y'all so very much. We will be back later on this week with more creative workshops to get y'all through the week, and also to amplify your creativity and guide you a little bit more. So if you have not joined our Patreon, make sure you join us. It's patreon.com/AANBC INK. Or you can go to aanbc.org or ourlitdiaries.org. Either way, all of our websites is going to take you straight to our community. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and I will see you all back here later on this week.
Thank you, Tamika. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, I'm Tamika Newhouse, and I am the founder of AANBC, African Americans on the Move Book Club. Back in 2008, I was in San Antonio, Texas. I wanted to be a part of a book club, but I didn't know anyone in the city. And I felt it was kind of weird to walk up to other grown women and be like, hey, you want to read with me? You want to be my friend? So therefore, I took to MySpace and I started to talk about the books I have read. Through that format, I met hundreds and hundreds of writers, and I decided to talk about their books and launch their books and give them a platform. And visually see what it is that you perceive. So I thought that was really good. It's more than just telling us what we want to be showing us. And that's really hard for a lot of writers to do. I'm kind of proud. In 2009, I decided to launch the AANBC Literary Awards because I noticed that as an artist, we didn't have a platform where we were celebrated. There were the music shows, there were the award shows for movies and actors and Broadway. I'm like, well, hey, hello, what about us? You know, we don't have a show for us either, and we're artists as well. And so therefore, I decided to launch the awards in San Antonio, Texas. It eventually traveled to Baltimore, and now here we are in Atlanta. It's not about one person. It's not about one genre. It's about all of us as a unit. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you enjoy the show.